Welcome to Mid-Missouri Art News. Today we have a special guest, Mrs. Sherie Tevebaugh. Welcome once again to JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News, supported by many art enthusiasts locally throughout the state of Missouri and nationally and now even overseas. Thanks to our viewers for watching. I would like you to join me today in welcoming a feather painter. This is Mrs. Sherie Tevebaugh. Welcome. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. It's good to be here.
So admirable, your work
Thank you.
on feathers of all things. Can you imagine? Well, please join me in asking Sherie if she would, if I may call you by your first name.
Absolutely.
Please share with the viewers a little bit about Sherie Tevebaugh.
Okay, well, I was born and raised here in Missouri, raised on a farm about an hour south of St. Louis. So always have been surrounded by Missouri wildlife, hence my love for that, and lots of farm animals. I went to our local community college there and majored in art and music. I had a double major. So I'm an instrumentalist and a voice and art major. So I have 4 children. I have 3 boys and a girl, and they're all in various stages of college, either graduating or master's program or just starting. So, and we have one who's married and just had a little 2-month-old baby boy. So we have some exciting things going on in our family.
So you're a grandmother?
I am now a grandmother officially. I am.
And you could say hello to all if you want.
Hi, kiddos.
You want to mention your the other part?
My other
Your
profession? My husband, my sweet supportive husband, David. Yes, he's always very supportive. David Tevebaugh. Yeah.
Yes. It takes a support of family.
It does.
As a unity to support each other in their
Absolutely.
endeavors most of the time. So I can just visiting somewhat with David. Sure enjoyed learning about his favorite pastimes.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
And I can see where you're very well endorsed by.
Yes, we have a lot of art going on in our house. Yeah.
I can imagine. Well, I've got to ask you, what inspired you to become an artist?
To become an artist in the first place, you know, I've always been doing some form of art, even in my early teens. I've just always been doing something to do with art. So I can't really remember putting charcoal to paper at any point. I've just always been doing that. But as far as Missouri wildlife, I am just a huge fan of Al Agnew and some of the other painters of Missouri wildlife. And I just saw my work heading that direction gradually. So yeah, I just everything around me. My studio faces our back of our property. So just, you know, the birds, the wildlife we have, it's just the creation itself just inspires me to paint.
So you have an excellent canvas to
I
copy.
do. Always something moving in and out of that canvas, yeah.
Well, now, Sherie, you're known as a feather painter, and you shared with me a few moments ago that you was inspired at one of the Bass Pro Shops
years ago.
Springfield, Missouri. Would you like to share that experience with you? I have a different artists that come, should we say, to the canvas or what have you, from an inspiration.
Okay.
A gentleman sees his first Monet painting,
and
is overtaken with, in awe, I guess you could say, the brush works, brush strokes, whatever.
Exactly.
So what was that experience like for you when you did run across that?
Yeah. Well, I was a children's muralist. I did the big murals on the walls, and saw a feather painting for the first time. That's probably been 24 years ago when my kids were little. I think I even had a newborn with me at that time, and saw this painting. I think it was a bighorn sheep on a feather, on a turkey feather. And I saw how it lent itself to the actual hair of the animal. the veins of the feather. And I was just intrigued by it and kind of tucked that in the back of my mind for probably another 20 years, you know, didn't change over until several people kept asking, have you ever tried it on feathers? And I said, I really hadn't, and I just kept putting it off. And finally one day, I happened to have some turkey feathers, and my first one was an elk. I painted an elk, and I was hooked after that. Yeah, it was just such a unique canvas, if you could call it that, to paint on. So.
Right. Now, in the second segment, we're going to get into more detail about the feathers, the mediums, how the feathers, I guess we could say, tends to express the luminosity, which you probably never even thought about as someone painting feathers. So let's hang loose. It's going to be an interesting second part. Well, would you give us an idea of what's happening now in the future, with your artwork? I know we crossed paths.
We did,
not knowing it at
right.
the Runge Nature Center
yes.
and the Department of Natural Resources, Jefferson City, Missouri, Conservation Nature Center. I'm very impressed. So, so what's happening, be happening in the future?
The feathers have been touring Missouri at most of our conservation centers, and they were at Runge, which is just a beautiful place to have them displayed for November and December of last year. August Bush Memorial Nature Center has asked for them to come back for a re-showing next month in February, so they'll be in St. Charles again. I have some speaking engagements lined up, and I have some new paintings coming out just for 2020, so I'm looking forward to that. It's pretty exciting.
Yes, it sounds like a great agenda, venue, what have you. Well, now, do you have anything in process right now that we can look forward to? Would you like to share that?
I do. I had been concentrating in the series of paintings mostly on the raptors, the owls, the eagles, the hawks, and the public kept asking for songbirds. Would I paint some songbirds? And all of the colors were nice on the wild turkey feathers. I happen to have some domestic white, just pure white feathers, and I wondered what that would look like. And so just this week, in fact, I started doing songbirds on the pure white feathers, and it's really been an interesting, again, and it's totally different than the wild turkey feathers were. So I'll show
go
that.
ahead and try to show those, and we'll get some close-ups of these, so you'll have a better shot on the timeline. That's a beautiful cardinal.
Right.
So we'll get a close-up. There's looks like a
little wren.
A sparrow,
It's a little wren, yeah,
so,
a little wren.
This will be interesting to see up close.
I thought it would be the same as painting on the wild turkey feathers, and found that it was completely different. So this has been exciting to get started on.
So that was an interesting partaking of a different type of feather, which you didn't realize.
Didn't realize it would be any different than than his cousin. Yeah.
Now, do you still paint on canvas?
I do occasionally. My kids are very artistic, and once in a while we do bring out the canvas, especially on our Christmas break or something, and we do a few paintings. But for the most part, I have stayed pretty much with the feathers for the past probably 10 years now. Constantly. I sell a lot to the public, so I have a waiting list, and I'm always having to keep up with that.
Excellent.
So yeah, that keeps
and
me
we'll
pretty
be giving
busy.
that information out where you can reach Sherie if you'd like one of these excellent pieces of work. Well, now you mentioned earlier about working with the special handicapped, should we say, or specialty needs.
Special needs, yeah.
Students. Do you find yourself doing murals within the classroom?
I don't. We don't do that too much there, but we keep pretty busy just taking care of the kiddos that are there. I'm what's called a paraprofessional, so I'm there to help aid any of the children who need extra help, and so I happen to work with one in particular. Yeah.
Oh, I see, one in particular. Now, do you find yourself teaching this one in particular are you teaching any artwork with him?
We do some crafts and some art. Yeah, yeah.
Unique in their own way.
They
and
are
they're
very,
genuinely
yes.
trying to project, again, their inner feelings a lot of times within their art.
Right.
And
right.
you just see that they're just really wound up in
bet.
what they're doing and wanting people to see what's inside.
Exactly,
So
exactly. That's awesome.
And into their art world. Well, we must take a short break,
Okay.
believe it or not. So hang loose for a few seconds, if you would,
All right.
Sherie. When we come back, Sherie shares more with us on the topic of artwork, the artwork on feathers. Stay with us. There's more right here at Missouri Art News.
The crayon box that talked. While walking in a toy store the day before today, I overheard a crayon box with many things to say. I don't like red, said Yellow, and Green said, nor do I. And no one here likes orange, but no one knows just why.
We are a box of crayons that doesn't get along,
Said Blue to all the others. Something here is wrong. Well, I bought that box of crayons and took it home with me and laid out all the colors so the crayons could all see. They watched me as I colored, with red and blue and green and black and white and orange and every color in between. They watched as green became the grass and blue became the sky. The yellow sun was shining bright on white clouds drifting by. Colors changing as they touched, becoming something new. They watched me as I colored. They watched till I was through. And when I'd finally finished, I began to walk away. And as I did, the crayon box had something more to say. I do like red, said Yellow, and Green said, so do I.
and Blue, you were terrific so high up in the sky.
We are a box of crayons, each one of us unique.
But when we get together,
The picture is complete.
Welcome back to Mid-Missouri Art News. As we turn to our guest, Mrs. Sherie Tevebaugh from Hillsboro, Missouri. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Again. And so much information shared in the first segment, and which gained my attention, I'm sure with our viewers' attention, here on Mid-Missouri Art News. Your work is outstanding, and we really want to learn more,
Awesome.
Sherie. So I have more questions.
All right.
Please share with the viewers the process that you must go through to complete a project. If you
Okay.
can.
Many times, and I really depend on friends who are hunters, for those turkey feathers. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now, probably 10 plus years, and so far have not had to go buy any feathers. They just always appear. Sometimes I come home and they're just there already waiting for me, but the first thing I do is I actually put the shaft of the feathers, so I'll have a whole fan, I just put it all in salt and just leave it there until I can get to it. And then I individually go through clipping them off, and I clean them and I dry them. Sometimes have to re-comb them back into place. And then I actually have an entire file of the feathers categorized by size, what they are. I have quail, pheasant, all of those are there. And they have to be game feathers. They have to be feathers from birds that we can hunt.
I see. Now you have some feathers with you.
I do. Sometimes I'll get them and they have notches out of them. They maybe even have a hole in them, and so those are not the ones, that's not the primary ones that I would paint on then. Sometimes they have jagged places, so that would not be a feather I would paint on primarily. I would take a better looking feather and put one over the other, and then this would be my canvas here that I would paint on. So yeah, I have those, and then I outline them with pheasant or quail feathers to decorate the shaft of it.
Now you shared with us in the first segment about the trying
white.
out white. So
Yes,
if you want
right,
to
yeah.
show this,
Yes.
the white again. And
I had these sitting around one of the conservation areas was doing a craft and had an entire bucket of them, you know, sitting there, or a big basket full. And I asked them about it, and they said they were domestic white turkey feathers.
I see.
And did I want them? And so I'd had them for quite a while, and thought I would try painting the Songbird series on those. Thought the colors would pop more on this stark white, and found it was nothing like the wild turkey feather that I paint on at all. It was more like painting on silk. Like you said, a silk scarf. And so just a whole different technique I had to use for that, because it's almost see-through, almost transparent, the feather is. Yeah.
Luminosity of the feathers that you use for your contrast of colors, what have you. Painting on silk, I'm somewhat educated in experience with interviewing people who paint on silk, and my time spent in Japan admiring the silk works, shall we say, there. So I do see the somewhat of
similarity,
similarity
yes,
in that.
absolutely.
That's beautiful work.
Right, so I was surprised that
now,
it was like that.
Yes, are there wild white turkeys also?
Not that I know of. These were domestic farm turkeys, they said. So that's where they had come from. They just happened to have them in storage, and they asked if I wanted them, and so I took those with me also. So.
Right. And why, when you're looking at a feather, what do you look for? And you're starting to apply your mediums.
Right. I am looking for a fuller feather. Some of them are very narrow. Like I said before, some of them have notches out of them, so I'm looking for a very full feather. I'm trying to picture how I'm going to place that particular animal on that feather, whether the feather's going to go upright or, you know, horizontal. And so I like a wide band on the, I'll show you the difference.
Okay.
One has a wider band of black, where this one has a narrow one. This is the one I would want to paint on, because I like to use that shadow from the feather in my painting.
Yes, now that was my next question. You have different colorization there.
I do.
Within the canvas, should we call it, the
Yes,
feather?
right.
And so I would guess that you use those dark spots, lighter spots to your advantage as you apply.
Sometimes if you're viewing my work, you'll see the stripe of that turkey feather behind that animal, and it's part of the shadowing, it's part of the shading. I think I sent you a picture recently of a Canada goose. Well, his neck is extending into that feather, and I'm hardly using any paint at all for his neck. It's just the highlight.
Just
so
the highlights.
yeah.
Excellent. Now, if I may ask, what mediums do you use?
Not very many.
Basically oils?
I use acrylic.
Acrylics.
I use acrylic. I use no water. I have to use what I call a dry brush. We know that technique. And I use a size 0 paintbrush. So, and it's very slow process, because if the feather gets wet from the paint at all, the liquid that's in it, it begins to break apart. And then it's ruined. So I have to go very, very small strokes, long term. It just has to take a long time to get it all built up on there.
Is that a natural dry that you
I do. Sometimes I have a fan if I'm in a hurry to get one done, or if I'm afraid there's too much water in that acrylic and then I can see the feather starting to separate, then I will use a fan and keep combing it back in place. So.
Well, you also, Sherie, you reach a lot of depth within your subject matter. Are you using glazes?
I'm not.
Is there a medium, or is that again the feather?
That's the feather. It's many shades of the same color. When I'm doing that, I really try to make the eyes look as natural as possible, as realistic as possible.
They are realistic.
But just on the cardinal alone, I probably used 8 different shades. I just kept mixing my reds to do different depths of that same color. So yeah, it's just the bare feather and just the acrylic paint. There's nothing else.
Excellent. Very talented, I should say. Well, Sherie, I first mentioned, I first saw your works at the Runs Nature Conservation Center here in Jefferson City, Missouri, and I also shared previously that I will again be hosting a show at the Run Center in the months of May and June of this year, 2020, and I would like to take this opportunity to invite you personally to the exhibit.
Thank you.
And so that our viewers will get a chance to see your awesome work
That would be
at
awesome.
that venue.
Thank you. Yes, that would be great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, do you do commission work? I guess
I
you
have.
speak of different ones reaching out.
Right, I have. I've done quite a bit of commission work in the past. I am really trying to get my public to just focus on the Missouri wildlife, because I get requests for painting their dog or painting their cat, you know, and I've done things like that in the past, white buffalo, but I'm really trying to stay within that Missouri wildlife as much as possible. But I do have a waiting list when people call me, because many times the painting they want is tied up in a show already, and they can't have that particular painting until the show is done. But I do have a waiting list if they want to get on that, and then I will go ahead and paint them another one just like that. But if they want the particular one in the show, then they have to wait till the show is over.
So you're busy 12 months out of the year.
I pretty
it
much
sounds
am.
like.
Yes, I
see.
am.
Now, your upcoming shows, we want to mention them again. You'll be in St. Charles.
I'll be in St. Charles at the August Bush Memorial Nature Reserve, and that's a re-show. They had it, I think, a year ago at theirs, and they asked for it to come back. And that's when the songbirds will be introduced. They usually ask for something new, you know, whenever it comes back. So yeah. So last year they asked for a puma. And I didn't realize that we had that many pumas in Missouri, but they said the public really likes the puma, so I did
And
one
that
for
was
them.
my next question, or my comment was your puma. I think that caught my eye first
like
at the
that one,
Lynch Nature
yes,
Center when you showed at that
Mm-hmm.
venue. Well, would you like to offer your contact information, whether it be a website, email,
Absolutely, yes.
telephone number, and you're on Instagram?
Okay.
And we want to Instagram
Right.
and probably Facebook.
Right, I'm on.
So
I
if
just
you
started
wanna-
a new Facebook page just for the feather paintings.
excellent.
I don't have a website up yet. We're working on that, but I do have an email that's share SHER.mo.wildlifeart, one word, @gmail.com. And my phone number, if they wanted to leave a message, is 314-620-9444. And the Facebook page is Missouri Wildlife Art, Sherie Tevebaugh. So I look forward to hearing from the public. That's a big incentive.
Excellent. And you will not be disappointed, that's for sure. Well, Sherie, we're just about out of time. If someone else was interested in this, should we say, type of work, would you recommend or give them any tips?
Absolutely. I do hear from people who want to get started. Yeah,
I see.
Absolutely. And I
What,
will give them tips. For this in particular, a lot of time and patience is all I can say.
see.
Just keep experimenting. It's not something that you can really teach someone, I don't think. I think if you've already been an artist and you want to try this, this is definitely a challenging canvas, if we'll call it that.
You're
yeah.
recommending that you
Start
should
on
have
canvas first. Is what,
Start on canvas first. Not too many feathers will be ruined.
Right, you'll be throwing away a lot of feathers
So
if you
you're
do.
saying that it's going to be a challenge, even though
Yes.
you have had some past years
Right,
painting
right.
on canvas, what have you. Would you, do you have any closing statement that you'd like to share with our viewers? In
I'll
the
tell you-
overall look from your beginning point up until today.
Up until today, the conservation centers around Missouri have just been amazing, you know, of wanting it and asking for it. It started at one, and I just started getting phone calls that one had recommended to another, and the public has just been a huge incentive to keep trying new ones, introducing something new, and their feedback has just been off the charts. It's just amazing what they have to say. So I'm really pleased with where it's going now. Yeah.
Well, excellent, excellent. Well, on behalf of JCTV, I want to thank you so much for contributing to Mid-Missouri Art News. It's been a learning and informational experience, I'm sure for all. I know it has been for me, and I look so much forward to the visit with you here at the round table today.
Thank you.
So thank you once again.
Thank you for having me, Rick. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, viewers, once again for watching. I want to give a thank you to the crew at JCTV here, as limited as it is, our producer Gloria Enlow and her crew. And thank you, our viewers, for watching. Look for more Mid-Missouri Art News right here. And don't forget YouTube. I'm Rick Jey saying, see you next time.